Hi, welcome to Old Guys Gentlemen Flex Fountain Pens. This will be episode number 33, and I'm going to be covering the Montblanc Meisterstuck 149. It's not really a flex pen, but it does have a little bit of line variation, and I'll talk more about that later. This is another one of the pens from the hoard of pens that I bought on our vacation to Europe last month. It's actually the first pen we bought, and I got it at Selfridges in London, which is kind of a madhouse of a store. I really didn't like the crowds there. But they had an excellent supply of Montblancs and some other premium pens. No vintage pens, no flex pens per se. But the staff was very knowledgeable, very friendly. They went out of their way to go through inventory to find exactly what I was looking for. And Montblanc is something like a Rolex watch. I never had a Rolex, never will have a Rolex. I am Mac all the way. But the other kind of status symbol that I remember seeing in various magazines as I was growing up as a kid was this Montblanc. And I always wondered, well, who would pay that much money for a pen like that? I read the reviews of this pen, and the Montblanc users really like it. It's funny, a lot of people say, well, when you use this, you can just write with it unposted. It is definitely the right length for something like that. I have some posted pens that are just a little bit longer than this. But I've always liked that extra weight at the end. Some people say that this looks like it's too huge of a pen. Look how big I am. And I'm not really catching it at a good angle here, but from where I'm looking, it looks like a good pen for my hand. Now, in terms of its performance, well, one of the things is I believe this has it's like a piston filler. And it's got a little ink view. There you can kind of see the ink view. It's got a really pretty nib. Yeah, look at that. Some nice work on that. I typically won't buy pens because of how pretty the nibs are. I get hung up on the performance and on the look of the body. This is a pretty pen. And this is an extra fine nib. The sales person who was helping me had to go into the bowels of the store to dig up some of the pens that I was asking for, but she came up with exactly what I was looking for. In terms of writing performance, you can see some of the scribbles here. It writes with, depending on the pressure of my hand, anywhere from double extra fine to extra fine. And as I start putting more and more pressure on it, because it's 18K material, it'll spread a little bit. I know you're not supposed to do a lot of that. I would only do it in my cursive writing a little bit on some of the capital letters. But I can push it up to a medium, which I think would be definitely a safe area to push it to. Bold, eventually I may end up pushing the nibs back away from the feed if I keep doing that. But as you can see here, there's definitely some line variation. And again, for all the people who are ultra sensitive about the word flex pen, this is not a flex pen, it's an 18-karat gold nib pen that can give you some line variation. I'll get in trouble if I don't say that way. So it's less than medium flex, but you get some line variation because of the 18K. And I think that's pretty cool that you can do that in a modern pen. Okay, so let's do just a little writing. Just a little bit of line variation there. Now I was trying to put extra pressure in to get a little bit of line variation if I just write very smooth writing, and it'll stay at a nice, the light hand, a nice extra fine kind of writing. I do notice that you do have to put a little bit of pressure on it. If you go with a really light hand, sometimes you get something, sometimes you don't. See if I put the weight of the pen on it, what happens then? Yeah, so I have to put a little bit more than the weight to get that. Now, most of the pens, the flex pens and things like that that I have, although, you know, I have read that when you break in the nib, that this is all with putting almost no pressure on it. So when I do put pressure, it's very dependable. I've also picked this pen up after sitting around for a few days without any use, and you know, usually you have to come over to another sheet and kind of get it wet, but this writes right away. Okay, so what do I think about this pen? It's cool. It's one of my status symbols. It flexes a little bit, not really enough to make me excited, but a little bit's better than nothing. The size I really like, but the price I don't think is warranted. You're paying for the name and for the little domed snow top, the Montblanc symbol, and maybe a little bit for the fancy work here. I mean, it's professionally done. You know, I don't see any bad workmanship anywhere, but I'm not likely to buy another new Montblanc. I might buy a vintage one. In terms of size, everybody goes on and on about the size. Another one of my favorite pens that only cost me, I think it was less than 20 bucks, is this Jinhao. Now this is kind of an odd pen to compare it to, but you can see it's comparable in size. So I think that ends this review of this pen. It's a good pen. I might end up selling it someday to give me more money to buy cool vintage flex pens, or if they ever start coming up with modern flex pens. In the meantime, I'll enjoy having it. I'll bring it to special events so I can show off my my status symbol pen, because the majority of the world doesn't know anything about fountain pens, but a good portion of them will know what a Montblanc is. So it has some value in that, and it's a well-made pen. So I hope you got some value out of that. Until next time, thank you for watching.